This is the Lessons in Positivity videocast. Here's your host, Scott Peterson.
Hello again from the Positive Athlete Studios in Atlanta, Georgia. We're so excited about today's show. Our first guest is Renee Montgomery, a two-time WNBA champion and one of the leaders of the UCONN women's basketball team that went an incredible 39-0 on their way to a national championship. Renee talks about how her ability was underrated at every level and how her positive attitude propelled her to success. Next, you'll meet TyLeslie Happy Johnson, a multi-sport high school athlete from Georgia. That's not a nickname, everybody. That's her actual middle name, and boy, does she live up to it. And finally, Chris Leggett from LGE Community Credit Union joins us and gives you some tips on saving money even at a very early age, and how that can help you understand the value of money for a lifetime. It's a segment we call Info You Should Know. So without further ado, let's start this week's Lessons in Positivity. We're joined by Renee Montgomery, two-time WNBA champion with the Minnesota Lynx, also an all-star, also a great college player at UConn, was a part of the 39-0 UConn Husky women's basketball team, and she's one of the greats of all time at UConn. And thanks for joining us, first of all. And you've had a real illustrious career. But you and I talked one time, and you told me that, there were times at your high school career and your college that you had people telling you that you were too something, either too short or not fast enough or something like that. Talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, when I was younger, I was smaller in relation to the other athletes. So I've been small my whole life in relation to athletes. And people told me quite often, yeah, you're probably too small to make it big, but you're a good little player though. They'd be like, but you're good. But keep going, you can do it. So they would tell me I'm not athletic enough. And then I was coming from West Virginia, like, you haven't played on the big stage yet, but we love what you're doing in West Virginia. Keep killing it there. So it was always a little like, we love your game, we love you, but you don't have something. So yeah, I would say a lot of times throughout my career, I never really paid attention to it though. I don't know if it was because I had my parents, and people that were supporting me, but when people said it, I never believed them.
Would you say that fueled you though too? When you hear some of those negative remarks, that it fuels you to be a better player, or well, maybe I got to work a little harder?
Yeah. So for me, what fueled me was the people that believed in me. So if somebody was repping me hard and somebody was like, yo, that little number 21, like that, those people fuel me because people are looking at them crazy, but I'm like, no, I got you. Like, I got you. Like, I wanted to prove them right. So I would say I get more like excited about like positive things. So negative things don't fuel me, but the positive things and the people that were believing in me, or the people that, when we're doing fundraisers for AAU, the families that were, giving money to the AAU teams, that fueled me.
You played for one of the all-time great college coaches of all time in any sport, Gino Auriemma. How was your relationship with him in terms of, was he a tough coach? Was he hard on you? What makes him such a successful coach?
Oh yeah, he's a tough coach, and a tough coach does not mean a caring coach. Does not mean he doesn't care. So he's a tough coach. He gets on you. He pushes you hard. But then that at the end of the day, if somebody says something bad about you, he has your back. At the end of the day, you want to go to war with him. So I had a great relationship with Coach Auriemma, and I'm so thankful for how hard he was on me, because if he wasn't, then I don't know if I would have started having the habits that I have now, as far as discipline is concerned. I don't know if I would have the basketball IQ I have now, the mindset that I can just figure it out. So yeah, I think that a coach like Coach Auriemma, the tough guys, those are usually the softest ones on the inside.
You had you have kids that have a coach like that in high school or even younger that are tough on kids. What would you say to them about those kinds of coaches? Like, they get really discouraged by a coach maybe being hard on them, but when a coach is really just trying to motivate them to be their best, what advice would you give the kids?
Yeah, I think a lot of times, like, kids just aren't used to being yelled at. So if a coach is yelling at you and the coach is getting on to you, what I always say is just listen to the message and not the delivery. So if they're yelling and they're screaming and the whole thing they're saying like, I told you to cut harder, what are you doing? Well, the message is just cut harder. So just cut harder. Don't worry about if he's yelling. Don't worry about if he's only looking at you. Just listen to the message, not the delivery. So that's kind of what I've been my rule of thumb with any coaching. They're trying to help you, but their delivery is in the moment. They're mad or they're upset, but just listen to the message.
Well, you're kind of doing some new things now too. You're on NBA TV, you're on ESPN, you've been on Fox doing some work. Is that a different kind of anxiousness or excitement, or how do you deal with that?
It is, and it's so different, and I'm so relieved because, you know, being an athlete, I've been an athlete my whole life. Like, I started playing when I was 10, you know, and I was serious about basketball since I was 10. So that means, like, every day I wanted to learn and work on basketball. That's what I consider serious about it. And so once I started being serious about it, I've done it. I'm 33 right now. So when I'm done playing, I'm like, what am I going to do? I've done basketball my whole life. But now I'm excited because I started doing broadcasting and started doing some NBA G League games and then some Atlanta Hawks games and some NCAA women's games. And I'm like, okay, I still feel connected to the game. So it was a very exciting thing for me because so if you're an athlete, you don't have to just be an athlete. You know, if you're an athlete and you also love to sing in the choir, then join the school choir. You know, you don't have to just be an athlete.
One of the other things I love about you, Renee, is that your commitment to the community and to other people. And you created your own Renee Montgomery Foundation. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so I created my own foundation because in West Virginia, I was born and raised in West Virginia, so we didn't have any pro sports. And that's something that I think now is like, I didn't know I was missing it because, you know, I never had it. But looking back now and the atmospheres that sporting environment, like some people are best friends because they met at a Braves game and they're both like super Braves fans or super Falcon fans, and it almost gives you a community. So there was that sense of, we didn't have sports to bond us as a community in West Virginia on the pro level. And so that kind of stirred my mind to start a foundation because I thought that I could make a difference doing something. And so I started with I want my foundation to do events or have things going on that have a culture, that has people feel a part of something. So whether it's just everybody's a part of the Renee Montgomery Foundation, I wanted people to feel a part of something because teamwork and all those things that happen in sports, I think carry over into life.
Renee, you had a chance to read the story of TyLeslie Happy Johnson that's in our book, The Positive Athlete. Tell me your thoughts about her and what you got out of her story.
Man, her story is so important because she talks about, you know, a lot of people, they think donating money is great and you need to donate money because things need to run on money. But she talked about investing time. And that's something that for a lot of people, you know, that's the hard thing to do. But she talked about the impact that happened. She's the person she is today because someone invested time in her. And so when you hear someone say that, it kind of fuels me personally even more to want to do more things with my foundation because you can just see the impact it has on people when you invest your time, not just money. Don't just throw $100, but you invest your time. It makes people like her feel important. It gives them confidence. So for me, I think, you know, hearing those words and hearing her, how she articulated and said it, it was inspiring for me personally.
You could almost be Renee Happy Montgomery, because every time I've seen you, whenever we've gotten together or whenever I've seen you play and stuff, you just look like you're happy on the court. What advice would you give to some athletes to try to create that kind of a feeling about happiness while you're playing?
Yeah, so I have this thing, you know, there's so many, like, I want people to understand that athletes, there's a lot of times I don't feel like working out. There's a lot of times, you know, so I want people that don't feel like working out, it's okay. The reason I'm happy is because, like, I'm happy with where I am, wherever it is. So I always try to give the best I can do. And so if I gave the best I can do, I can't really have any regrets. So when I go out every game, you know, and of course I'm mad after the games, but yeah, people always wonder, like, why are you so happy? And I'm like, why not? So for my thing, it's like, if I'm living my life to the best that I can, then I'm happy with where I am because I'm doing the best I can do.
Do you believe that positivity is a choice, Renee?
Oh yeah, I think it's more than a choice. I think it's a habit, because I think like for me, being negative is just not a habit that I have. So it's not something that I accidentally do. So, but being positive is. So even with this quarantine, you know, this is unfortunate for me because I'm a WNBA player that doesn't have a basketball court. I live in a condo, so I can't even dribble. You know, there's people below me. So this is not an ideal situation for me. So I'm going to work out and do all the homeworks I can. But on the other hand, I've been wanting to try to show what I can do on the entertainment side of things as far as hosting. So I'm doing different things here at home. I'm doing different interviews like with you to where I can put myself out there in another light. So I just always made a habit of being positive and looking at the silver lining and the best case scenario of something.
Well, you are no question one of the most positive athletes I've ever run into. And I just want to thank you, Renee, for spending time with us today. And
thank you, Scott. I appreciate
all the best when this all gets over and you can get back on the court.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you for having me.
In our next segment, we're going to have a chance to talk to TyLeslie Happy Johnson and tell you a little bit more about her and get her secret for why she's so happy. We're joined by TyLeslie Happy Johnson, one of my favorite athletes, high school athletes that we've given the award to with Positive Athlete. And TyLeslie was a great basketball player, but she was also a great track and field and volleyball player too in high school. But the first thing I always love to ask you about is your name. That's not a nickname. It's TyLeslie Happy Johnson. Tell us about that.
Right. Happy is my middle name, like on my birth certificate, middle name. My mother's first name is Happy. Her name is Happy Diane Johnson. And she was named after Happy Rockefeller. But most people think that she was named Happy because she's the last of 8. And my grandmother was happy to get it over with.
That's a great story. So with a name like that, though, is that hard to live up to? Because, you know, a lot of people look at that and say, okay, are you really always happy?
There are times that it is very hard to live up to, but I always have to remind myself that it could be worse. So smiling is contagious. So let's smile and help everybody else. And I enjoy helping others. So as simple as smiling, just seeing somebody else smile and make me smile, and then everything will be okay.
Absolutely. Well, when I met you, you had lost your grandmother, and your dad had been diagnosed with cancer, and so during that time you stayed with this still great attitude, and no one would know those kinds of things were going on in your life. How did you manage that, and how did you keep with that positive attitude?
Well, starting with my grandmother, she was a big impact on my life, was my best friend, was the person that I stayed with other than my mother and father. So she passed on July 4th of 2015, which is the 4th of July, and that's my parents' anniversary. So the only option I had that day was to try to push through for my mom, one, because it was her anniversary, and that was her mother. So after the funeral and all that, I still continued to see that it was a big struggle for my mama to push through. Mm-hmm. So I knew me being sad and me showing emotion other than being happy was going to make it harder for her. So basketball, sports in general, was my way of keeping myself active and keeping her active. Having her come pick me up from practice just to get her out the house or take me to practice or go get new gear for sports or whatnot. Come to games, be excited. I give her something to cheer about, just to take her mind off of it. With my dad, that situation was a little bit more challenging because I was told at a basketball game, a game that I was playing. My mother came in and she was looking in distress, and I just knew something was wrong. She wasn't there at the beginning of the game, and I knew she was coming. And when she came in, I couldn't even focus on the game anymore, and I just wanted to know what was wrong because I knew my dad was supposed to be going to the doctor, and he didn't come in with her. but that situation was much harder. But he is the type of person that is happy all the time. All the time. Even when he was in the hospital, he was happy all the time. So that energy was contagious from him, and me and my mother just tried to keep him uplifted, keep each other uplifted and push through and just help each other in any way possible.
So what would you say to a young athlete who's going through it? I know you've been through it all now, and you kind of can reflect back on how important really some of those things were. They felt more important probably at the time that you were playing. Talk a little bit about the highs and lows of playing sports and the perspective you have now that you've kind of been through it.
Okay. So I specifically remember one game, and I just felt like I was at my lowest point. And that's because I had been going, it was like the week after my dad was diagnosed with multiple myeloma. And I'd been going to school, getting out of school, going to practice, leaving practice, going to Dahlonega, leaving Dahlonega at 6 a.m. to make it to school, and doing it every day. And I was drained. But at the game, I couldn't make a free throw. I couldn't make a layup. I had 3 fouls in the first quarter, and I just had to tell my coach, I don't know what's wrong. I'm trying. I know I'm the glue to the team, so I'm going to continue to play. And even though I know that it's my off day, I'm going to make good passes to my teammate, or make sure that my teammate stays positive, play good defense, all the things that I could do to still help out my team, even though that I was missing layups. I would just, instead of me shooting it, let my teammate shoot it. If it's not my day, then it's somebody else's.
TyLeslie, thank you so much for spending time with us today. And I know you're going to be in the healthcare industry, and we all hope that we get to see your face in a hospital if we have to go to one, because we all need positivity, and you're contagious as you talk to everyone. So thank you so much, TyLeslie.
You're welcome.
Next, we'll talk to Chris Leggett from LGE Community Credit Union about the value of money, even at an early age. It's a lot easier than you think. It's a segment we call Info You Should Know, and it's coming up next on Lessons in Positivity. We're back, and we're doing the Info You Should Know segment. And today we have Chris Leggett, the president and CEO of LGE Community Credit Union in Northwest Atlanta. Good afternoon, Chris.
Good afternoon. How are you?
We're doing just great, and we're positive, all right? So, hey, one of the questions I have for you is, some of our viewers don't know the difference between, they maybe have never heard of a credit union. What's the difference between a credit union and a bank?
Well, essentially, a credit union provides the same products and services as a bank, or a fintech you might know a little something about, like Chime. So savings accounts, checking accounts, loans, credit cards, those sorts of things. We just do things a little bit differently. The main difference is that banks are for profit and have customers, whereas credit unions are not for profit, and we like to call our folks that use our credit union members. So when you have a credit union account, you become a member of the credit union, which means you are now actually a part owner of the organization. It's sort of cool because your viewers are able to become a member owner of a credit union even at a young age. So the bank's main goal is to make as much money as possible. Our main goal at the credit union is to give you much in value and return as we possibly can, because again, you're an owner, and we want to make sure that our owners are happy.
That's pretty cool that a young kid could be actually an owner of a company at this age. They get their allowances, they get after-school jobs, and things like that. So you're saying it's not too early for a kid to start saving?
Never too early. Absolutely never too early. The sooner you begin putting away a portion of everything that you make, be it an allowance, being it a summer job, mowing yards, babysitting, maybe you have a part-time job at a restaurant or something like that, you should always, as a means of maybe practicing good savings habits, put aside 5 or 10% of everything that you earn and leave it alone. And that's something that we like to encourage here at LGE for our folks to start as young as possible. You can get help from mom, dad, grandparents, birthday cards, those sorts of things that, maybe they have a 10 or a 20 or a 50 in it if you're really lucky. Put a portion of that away and then spend the rest if you like.
That's really cool. So how much how much money does somebody have to get a savings account started at a place like LGE Community Credit Union?
All you need is $5. $5 to open a savings account. That gets you obviously a savings account, membership. The $5 never goes away. It's always yours.
Have you found that some of your members, when they take handling money and finances more seriously at a younger age, that they tend to not have as many financial issues as they get older?
Well, absolutely. You probably read some stuff in the press recently that as much as 80% of our population does not have a basic $500 to $1,000 for emergency situations. So again, those habits start early. I can give you a good example. I have 2 young boys. They've actually started having a savings account and a checking account at 12 years old. And I taught them the value of money, the value of compounding. Even at low interest rates, compounding can be very valuable. And today, they're a couple of stingy fellas. I can tell you that right now. Whenever they have an opportunity that may be something they want to buy, the first option is never to go buy it themselves. It's always to come to me because they don't want to mess with their savings.
That's a great example, especially with your own kids. You're the leader of this organization, and community seems to be really, really important to you. And not only for what you guys give back, but also your employees are giving countless numbers of volunteer hours. Why is that important to you as the leader of LGE to have that kind of be the basis for your company?
Well, it maybe is cliche from time to time, but we think that having a good culture at the organization with our employees will extend into the community, because the reality is our employees are a part of the community as well. So we like to think that we as LGE, as a not-for-profit, but for value, we have a greater purpose. That purpose is not for owners, it's not for shareholders, it's for the folks that we serve each and every day, our members. And certainly as a credit union, as a not-for-profit, we naturally have a spirit of being involved in the community and putting people first. That comes down from our board of directors. They instill that in us. That's carried on now at LGE for almost 70 years. And although we've been around a long time, I like to think that we're not a stodgy organization. We have a lot of good programs that I think young people in particular should plug into, and I think they'd be rewarded later in life if they did that.
Well, this information is incredible. I hope the kids are listening to this and taking it to heart, because Chris, what you're telling them is it's gold. Their parents probably realize this, some of their coaches and things realize that too. So thanks for spending some time with us today, and thanks for all you guys do in the community.
Well, you're quite welcome. Thanks for having me on, and good luck to everyone.
Well, that's our show for today. I hope you were encouraged by today's episode. So many great tips by both Renee and TyLeslie that will help you as an athlete and as a person. Remember, you can read TyLeslie Happy Johnson's story and 99 other inspirational stories in our new book, The Positive Athlete. To check it out, visit our website at positiveathlete.org. We'll see you next time on Lessons in Positivity.